Well, the tide is finally turning, and Kamala's speech is slurring. Thank God we're saying bye to Joe. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. And the mainstream media's dying, their viewers shaving their heads and crying. What is a woman? Well, they still don't know. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. They tried to stop us by taking his life, but they missed, so it's fight, fight, fight. The left really thought they'd beat the right, and they fought, but they lost, thank the Lord. Now January is coming. Half of Hollywood's already running. They're finding new countries to call home. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke.
We got to run this one back from Tom Macdonald. We got to run this one back from Tom Macdonald's. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, right? They're trying to get sleigh tonight. I mean, you want to ride my sleigh tonight? Hey, when I seen this video, I said I had to laugh, right? I had to laugh at this video. This video is going viral. It's called Let It Snow by Tom Macdonald's. That McDonald's, Macdonald's, the M-A-C, to the M to the A to the C, the Macdonald's, right? And to me, this man got character. This man got character. It's trending. So I said, let's go over it. Someone sent me this video earlier. So I said, hey, let's go over it. Hopefully everyone is having I guess they call this day Christmas, as long as with your family, with your loved ones, y'all celebrating, which you can do that any other day. But hey, I guess people do it for the kids, XYZ. But I wanted to show y'all why Christmas isn't so authentic and or organic. And we got to have some fun with it. But let me run this song over once again. Smash that like button. Tell a friend and tell a friend. This is the beginning. This is not the end. Another episode and reaction video of the Healthy Discussion Show.
Well, the tide is finally turning, and Kamala's speech is slurring. Thank God we're saying bye to Joe. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. And the mainstream media's dying, their viewers shaving their heads and crying. What is a woman? Well, they still don't know. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. They tried to stop us by taking his life, but they missed, so it's fight, fight, fight. The left really thought they'd beat the right, and they fought, but they lost, thank the Lord. Now January is coming. Half of Hollywood's already running. They're finding new countries to call home. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke.
And let's pause on that one. Before I start again, hit that like button down below. Hit the AirTag EMF. It's still not too late to get your loved ones this wonderful gift. AirTag EMF protection protector. It protects you against these harmful rays from these computers, from the cell phones, from the Wi-Fi, from everything along that nature. If you love your loved ones and you're feeling in the holiday spirit, which is the time to shop until you drop, make sure that you put this in your cart. On that note, let's continue.
As the drones fill up our skies, and Ukraine still wants more dough, and the left tries to take our rights. They want us bending a knee, but we won't. With Diddy locked up, it's been swell, and Epstein didn't kill himself. Hunter smoking crack with ho ho ho. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke.
That song, go check that song out. Go check that song out. That should put you in the holiday spirit. for adults. I guess it's for adults only. That should put you in the holiday spirit. So now, let's stop sharing that screen. And I had another screen to share with you guys. And this is the educational part. You know, we got to throw the entertainment in there, while at the same time we got to educate at the same time, right? So let's go, and let me give you the source and the credit of this one. Let me give you the source and the credit of this one as well. Let me know if you can see the screen. You can see the screen. Let me make that screen a little bit more presentable. Always. And let's enlarge the screen. All right, let's go. Let's get it.
Jesus actually born on December 25th? Why do we celebrate Christmas on the winter solstice? And did the Catholic Church originally choose that date just because it was an existing pagan holiday to a Roman solar god?
Huh?
We're going to find out all of this and more as we travel back in time over 4,000 years ago, looking at Egyptian hieroglyphics, ancient Roman artifacts. We'll even dive into the writings of the early church fathers and Catholic bishops and find out what they have to say about the topic. We're going to get to the bottom of this, my friends. Let's put December 25th on trial and find out what the enemy is really trying to hide.
Oh, that part.
Hi, I'm Jim Staley with Passion for Truth Ministries. In this video, we're going to discover the answer to why do we celebrate the birthday of Christ on December 25th. Did the Roman Church choose it simply because it was an existing pagan holiday to a sun god and they wanted to keep Christians from worshiping the sun? Or is there more to the story? We're going to find the answer to those questions and many more in this video. But right off the bat, I want to say that if you consider yourself an academic, you may not agree with every piece of evidence presented in this trial.
Right.
You don't have to. We all have our own bias, and even the scholars disagree with each other on even the most obvious and clear evidence. Everyone has a bias. At the end of the day, our own court system pronounces guilt when the evidence is just beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's exactly what we're going to do. After all, how much poison needs to be in a glass of water for the whole glass to be polluted? Not much at all.
That was well said. That was well said. Let's make this an educational. This is all about education right here. Now, if some people are biased, some people are going to say, well, why are you doing this on the Lord's Day and XYZ? Well, how do you know if this is even the day? Like, can we talk about it? Grab your pots and pans. It's time to cook. Don't forget the spatula. Now, watch this.
But right now, you might be asking yourself the question, who cares when Jesus was born? What does it matter if the Catholic Church chose December 25th to be the date of his birth or any other day for that matter? Well, if it was all about us, it wouldn't matter. But the reality is, it's not about us. It's about him. We're worshiping him. And according to Deuteronomy chapter 12, he already told us that we're not allowed to take things, traditions, or days and how the pagans used to worship their gods, look into those, and then creatively borrow from them, Christianize them, throw a little holy water on them, and then offer them up to the one true God. We're not allowed to do that. We're supposed to worship him in spirit and in truth the way he commanded, and we're not allowed to add or take away from that. So if December 25th was in fact the birthday of pagan sun gods, and the Roman Church chose to change the birthday of Christ to that day, that would be like me trying to change the birthday of my wife to the birthday of one of my old girlfriends. Imagine if a husband comes up to his wife and says, honey, I don't want to celebrate your birthday on July.
That example was flawless. Hold on. Let's run it back. He said, that's why I say I don't believe it that it's today's the day, because it's a lot of controversy on the actual day, right? So we're going to dive deep into this conversation. If you feel in some form of offended and XYZ, maybe this might not be the channel for you, right? But let's rattle the cage and let's see what the truth may be, and or let's unlearn to relearn, right? That's the best thing sometimes. Let's unlearn to relearn. Let's go. But that example right there, that's like me naming my wife my ex-girlfriend name.
December 25th was in fact the birthday of pagan sun gods, and the Roman Church chose to change the birthday of Christ to that day. That would be like me trying to change the birthday of my wife to the birthday of one of my old girlfriends. Imagine if a husband comes up to his wife and says, honey, I don't want to celebrate your birthday on July 24th anymore. It's just too difficult for me to remember. My old girlfriend had a birthday on October 31st, which happens to be a really popular holiday. It'll be much easier for me to remember if we move your birthday to that day. How well do you think that will go over with her? I don't think he'd be married very long at all. If our own wives would be offended at the thought of moving their birthday to one of her arch rivals, how much more the God of the universe, who says he's a very jealous God.
Right.
So this topic is incredibly important. If it's possible for the unsaved to unknowingly offend God, then it's possible for us as believers to offend him as well without even realizing it. And because mixing the profane with the holy is a big deal to him, we need to make sure that we're not just blindly following a Catholic holiday schedule when it comes to something so holy as the birth of the Messiah. I believe that God wants a bride that is without spot or wrinkle. And the days of the religious spirit of worshiping God however we want, making everything about us, making it all about our feelings, are over with. God is pervading the nations right now and preparing his bride for his return. After all, right now, virtually all Christians are following a religious calendar that was created by the early Roman Church and does not contain a single holiday that's on God's calendar.
Y'all listen to that? Y'all listen. That's why. Where's my hat at? Where's my hat? Hold on. Where's my hat? That's why this hat right here says schools, churches, cross that out, purpose. Because we all been lied to somewhat, some form, some way. I'm trying to give y'all the sauce, give y'all the juice without saying too much, right? Listen to what this man just said about the calendar, right? Of how, because y'all gotta remember, these churches used to go to war. Religion is to me killed more people than anything else for what you actually believe in. So, and it actually separates people. That's why I say I'm spiritual. I don't belong to a religious group. I'm more so a spiritual human being, living a spiritual. I'm living in this physical body, right? Having a human experience and trying to make it the best experience, not trying to making it the best experience ever, right? That's your job. And leave something behind that can actually help the world out. That's the point of living, right? Be fruitful, make sure you multiply, right? And do and become a God on earth, which means doing the right thing, doing the positive thing, doing service, XYZ. So, but listen to what he said, and this stuck with me right there. Listen to what he said.
Over with.
Hold on.
God is pervading the nations right now and preparing his bride for his return. After all, right now, virtually all Christians are following a religious calendar that was created by the early Roman Church.
That's the part right there I want y'all to understand. The Christians was following a calendar created by the Roman Church. What? That's hypocrisy. But let's continue.
And does not contain a single holiday that's on God's calendar. Could the body of Christ corporately be missing out on blessings and be suffering from a lack of power because it's chosen to worship God through man-made holidays and traditions of men rather than the holy days created by God? If you believe you're a Christian, a believer that wants to worship God in spirit and truth, then we need to look into everything that we believe and find out what spirit does it actually come from, and is it the truth? So we're going to look into this topic today. We're going to put December 25th on trial. We're going to put the Catholic Church on trial. We're going to find out where this came from and how it affects us today. And at the end of this video, I'm going to reveal to you what the enemy is really trying to hide and how he used the Roman Church to cover up what God has truly set aside for you. So stick with me as we find out the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
That was well said. Nice little introduction.
So let's begin and uncover
the sourcing of the video. I always give credit when credit's due, right? Once again, this is an educational platform, entertainment as well. So we got to learn something on today, right? I left down in the description. Check the page out in the description. I always give credit when credit's due for the song that I played at the front, at the beginning of the intro of the video by Tom Macdonald. It's located right there. So go check him out. And if you want to see an extended version of this, because I'm only going to do probably 30 minutes coverage, I'm going to break it down. It's by Jim Staley. It's actually the second sourcing that I put in the description as well. So go support the channel, basically.
Cover all the ancient documents, archaeology, and do a high-level zoom in on some of those ancient quotes and find out if the evidence leads us to a conclusion that we can say is definite. Let's start off with an ancient manuscript that was discovered in 1918. It contains 38 sermons that most scholars attribute to John Chrysostom, who lived in the 4th century. Within these sermons that are attributed to Chrysostom is another homily that is said to be by an obscure author named Pontius Maxima. The oldest manuscript that we have of these sermons is from the 9th century. This means that whoever the author is, he was either a contemporary of Chrysostom in the 4th century or a Christian author sometime after John, but before the 9th century. In this homily, he not only details for us that December 25th was in fact considered by the ancients the birthday of the Roman sun god, but it also helps us understand how the early Christians attempted to appropriate this day and Christianize it. In it, he says this, quote, "They also call it, they being the pagans, birthday of the Invictus, which means unconquered. But who is Invictus if not our Lord, who suffered death and then conquered it? Or when they call it birthday of the sun, well, Christ is the Son of Righteousness that the prophet Malachi spoke of." The ancient winter solstice, my friends, which was December 25th, is exactly what is being referenced here. This ancient quote is stating that the pagans, as early as possibly the 4th century, called the winter solstice the birthday of the sun god. This is extraordinarily strong evidence that December 25th was not just the named birth date of Christ, but was also coincidentally the birthday of the Roman sun gods. Furthermore, the above quote is corroborated.
Last time I checked, you can't serve two masters. It's either positivity or negativity. Which one? It's either positivity or negativity. Which one? Leave your thoughts down below. Because it seems to me, the more and more you dive down this rabbit holes, the more and more you're going to find out, well, aha, this is the solstice. Should we be worshiping should we be in a spiritual meditation with the actual earth? Or should we, what should it be? Now, y'all got to remember, most of our religions, we didn't choose. Think about it. Religion is basically programmed. It's a hardcore program. It's like you getting your computer, getting your laptop, getting your phone, and you have those pre-programmed apps or anything else that's already located inside of it, right? That's what it basically is. So you damn near don't have a choice. Now, when you become an adult and you become curious and you want to say, now, why is this and then why is that, right? You begin to ask the questions who, what, when, where, how, and why to solve everything around you. Or you look within, it's like, oh, okay. So all I'm saying is that give this a chance to maybe ask yourself why, right? Ask yourself why, because the truth will prevail. And that's all I want to make sure that we all are living in the truth, the ultimate truth, because that's what set you free, right? So let's continue.
By even St. Augustine of Hippo himself, who some say is the most influential Christian writer in history next to the Apostle Paul. He tells us in a sermon he gave on Christmas Day in the late 300s, early 400s, that December 25th was still being celebrated by the pagans as a holy day to their sun god. He said this,
and that's why they say you're not supposed to celebrate. I guess if y'all haven't heard of this saying, don't celebrate pagan holidays. Are you a pagan? Ask yourself that question. Are you a pagan? And if so, why? Let's continue. Let's open up the mind here. When you ask yourself why, your mind begin to think, why?
So, my brethren, let us hold this day as sacred, not as unbelievers do because of the material sun, but because of him who made the sun. Now, though he is also over that sun even in the flesh, the sun which people worship instead of God, because in their mental blindness they cannot see the true sun of justice. According to Augustine, December 25th was not just the time that they celebrated the birthday of Christ, but the day the pagans worshiped their sun gods through the physical sun. And as you'll see later in this video, this was not just a practice of the pagans in Rome. The winter solstice was celebrated as the birthday of virtually every sun god around the globe in every century and on every continent. But before we go any further, it's important to understand what and why the winter solstice is so important. It's critical to understand the significance of the winter solstice in ancient cultures because almost all sun god worship revolves around it. Why? Because the winter solstice is the shortest day of the year. It's the day when the sun appears to stop and begins to turn back around and the days get longer. So the ancients...
Y'all hear that? It's the shortest day of the year, the 25th, the shortest day of the year. Did y'all know? See, some people believe that, and let me open up y'all minds too. Some people believe that the sun, it rises and then it sets, right? What if I told you, depending on your location on this earth, right? Say, for instance, if you're in Sweden, what if I told you that the sun rises and it never sets? It's places on earth that you can go to. That's why it pays to travel. It pays to research. It pays to ask the question, the ultimate question, well, why? First you say, well, who am I? I am that I am. That's true. Whatever I want to be, that's true, right? Because he gave us the ability to create. So we can create whatever we want to be. We have the ability to create. That's why we have hands and everything else, just based on anatomy and just it's just based on a lot of different factors, right? We're made to be fruitful. We're made to multiply. We're made to conquer. We're made to create. So if you go to a certain place on earth, I'm telling you that the sun doesn't set. I'm telling you that it's sunny all day long. You were like, well, damn, where's the night? It doesn't exist. It's only on a certain latitude, longitude, geographic location. That may make you want to think about some things now, don't you? Because your normality may not be someone else's. Like I say, it's places on earth that the sun don't set. Once it's up, it's up. It's like as if it's up, then it's stuck, right? The sun just goes zzz across the sky, zzz across the sky, then come back, zzz across the sky, zzz across the sky. Just begin to think. I want y'all to open up y'all brain, y'all third eye, y'all pineal gland, and just think. Just think. That's why I don't brush my teeth with toothpaste, because I think I always ask why. Well, how is this? Why? I always try to figure things out. Well, how? Let's make a connection. Let's connect full. Hell, let's connect more. Let's go.
called it the day when the sun was reborn. This is why sun gods' birthdays were on this day, because this is the day that the sun begins to be reborn from their perspective. This is the day when the days begin to get longer and the sun begins to take over the night. And so we will see the winter solstice being used to worship sun gods all throughout time and almost on every continent.
Let me pause this for a second, because just for the people just getting in right now, right? At the beginning of this, I had to play a song. Let me stop sharing the screen real quick, because we got to cook up the cook up real quick. Cook up. We're cooking up that cook up. We're cooking up that cook up. Let's entertain real quick, because this song had me. You got to laugh sometimes. You got to enjoy life. You got to laugh. You got to laugh at it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And whatever you're going through in life, it's going to be all right. Remember, Healthy Discussion says so. It's going to be all right. Keep up the fight. Keep whatever you're running away from, run towards it, right? At full force. Break through. This is the year to break through. So let me share the video again real quick, because I want you guys to laugh along with me as well. Let me share the video again real quick, because this was a perfect video, perfect vibe. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, the tide is finally turning, and Kamala's speech is slurring.
Remix. Remix. They say that it's let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. This one is by Tom Macdonald. Let's get it.
Well, the tide is finally turning, and Kamala's speech is slurring. Thank God we're saying bye to Joe.
Bye-bye, Joe.
Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. And the mainstream media's dying. Their viewers shaving their heads and crying. What is a woman? Well, they still don't know. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. They tried to stop us by taking his life.
They did.
But they missed, so it's fight, fight, fight. The left really thought they'd beat the right.
Boom, boom,
And they fought, but they lost, thank the Lord. Now January is coming. Half of Hollywood's already running.
Yes, they is.
They're finding new countries to call home. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. As the drones fill up our sky,
New
and
Jersey.
Ukraine still wants more dough,
Lana.
and the left tries to take our rights. They want us bending a knee, but we won't. With Diddy locked up, it's been swell, and Epstein didn't kill himself.
Really?
Hunter smoking crack with ho ho ho. Screw the woke, screw the woke.
This man said Hunter is smoking butters with the ho ho ho. Hunter. Fewer discretion is advised. Fewer discretion is advised. Let's go.
Screw the woke.
Ah. All right, we gotta go back to the lecture now. This for the people that just coming in the back of it, in the back of the class, just coming in. I had to make sure that y'all caught. Change the vibe, break the ice, change the vibe a little bit. All right, let's go back to the lecture real quick.
Take a look at Newgrange Tomb in Ireland, where there's a small window aligned only with the winter solstice for 17 minutes each year. The window of that tomb was specifically created over 5,000 years ago to harness the sun just for those 17 minutes, right onto the tomb of the ancient chieftains that are inside. Now let's move over to Stonehenge, one of the most popular structures in the history of the world. This over 4,500-year-old pagan sun god worship structure is completely centered around the winter solstice. It's created and built just with the winter solstice in mind. But that's not the only structure. Take a look at Gothic Circle in Germany. It's almost 5,000 years old and is totally created around the winter solstice. 2 of the 3 entrances operate only under the sun of the winter solstice, one at the sunrise and the other at the sunset. But probably the most famous structure in the world history that deals with the winter solstice, that is completely connected to a sun god, is the Egyptian sun god Amun-Ra. This almost 4,000-year-old temple in Egypt that was built in such a way that only on one single day a year, the winter solstice, the light comes through a single window and shines in the Holy of Holies onto his face. The fact that the ancient Egyptians would build their sun god's temple to harness the sun of the winter solstice because they believed that this was the day that their sun god was reborn connects the winter solstice as an existing day of worship to a solar deity. The reason why this is so important is because this established that sun god worship was connected to the winter solstice for thousands of years before Rome was ever built. Long before the birthday of Christ was ever chosen by the Roman Church, this day had already been set apart and celebrated by...
Aha. So y'all see what he just did, long before the birthday of Christ. So basically he's saying that before they put this on the calendar, right? Who made it? Well, that kind of makes sense. They call it the what? The Roman calendar. So I guess they just putting things wherever they want to put things. They say that this is that, this is that, this metric is this metrics. And maybe it's not what it's supposed to be. Like, for instance, right? I think like this, and some people may laugh, some people may say this, some people may say this. I just think outside the box because I believe that, hell, If everything is inside of a box, can you really think? I mean, just think about it. You're gonna think about everything in a box, right? You gotta think outside the box. Monday. So I look at the days of the week, and I don't see the days of the week how you see the days of the week. This is how I try to have some fun with it. You got Monday. Some people are gonna say, well, it's Sunday to Monday, right? That's just 7 days in a week. Do your math. If it's 30 days, 31 days in a month, right? Then why y'all keep repeating the same thing? Now I get y'all got bills, y'all got to put people on a schedule and XYZ how life works. It's like you beginning to end. It's like you just start right on over. But I look at it like this. I count like this just to have some fun in life. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friends Day, Us Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Sister Day, Brother Day, Dog Day, Money Day, Crypto Day, Reading Day, Learning Day, Exercise Day, Workout Day, Eat Day, Fast Day, Driving your car today. Let's go to the park today. Let's hop on the plane today. Flight Day. So you gotta learn how to switch it up a little bit, because now you be like, well, if that's the case, then you're not on a 30-day time span, and therefore you can probably get more done in life thinking like that. Well, today is Crypto Day. Today is Workout Day. Today is Fast Day. Today is Health Day. Today is Meditation Day. Today is let's call it a reading day. Today is let's chill with all my loved ones today. You get what I'm saying? So the fact that we keep on, it's like we're putting energy into these things by actually rehearsing and actually agreeing with it. Because you got to remember, we have the brain and the fruition to create our reality. But if we're living in someone else's reality and we just propping it up, then what does that mean? You're making whatever they say, whatever it is, the laws that they make, true in your realm. Well, you can alter that state of mind, but that's just another way. That's going deep. People don't think that deep. Some people don't think that deep, right? I do. This is as much as you look at a star and you're looking up, you're like, whoever told you that was a star? What if what you're looking up at is looking down at you like they think this is a star? What if that's a whole galaxy? I look at it as like it's illuminating. It's a light. That's not a star. Someone told you that was a star. But if you look at what a star is an illumination of something, right? It's not a star. When you look up and you see those things called stars, those are planets, other galaxies. Why would it be a star? But that's just how I think. I let y'all enter my brain a little bit. It's time for y'all to go. Continue on watching this because it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. It's for me.
By all the ancient cultures before it. And this pattern does well. Even in the Americas, we see Mayan, Incan, Aztec temples all oriented towards the winter solstice.
Mm-hmm.
So that everyone's on the same page to understand the significance of why I'm going through these temples and the winter solstice, which are found in every culture, continent, tribe, and tongue, we need to back up and find out why the enemy is influencing these cultures to do this. We know that God is not involved in this deity sun god worship, but why, out of everything that Satan could have chosen, why did he influence these cultures to create physical temples in such a way to have the sun, the created object in the sky, shine through them and then create a deity around that sun? Why did he do it?
You know what I think? You know what they say? Satan tried to play God too. First of all, one of the greatest lies was to say that he don't exist. And I'm letting you know, it may not be a he. It can come as a she. It can come in different form. I think it's a thought. Think about it. You can have positive charges or negative charges. Your choice. So I think that deity will be a thought. It'll be a negative thought because it all starts with thought. It'll be a negative thought that you have. And you'll be like, oh, well, that's kind of demonic. But you can either choose to be positive or you could choose to be negative. We have the ability to choose, and that's one of our blessings on this earth. we have the ability to choose. Can we talk about it? Well, let's talk about it. You know, you have the ability to be wicked, or you can be honorable. You have the ability to achieve, or you can deceive. But I'm here to tell you guys that with great powers come great responsibility, and it's on you, right? And not only that, you don't get to choose the consequences. That's the thing. You get to commit the act, but you don't get to choose the consequences. Life's well balanced now, ain't it? But let's continue. Like I say, I think a little differently. Let's think abstract.
I'm going to suggest to you because he only knows how to twist what God has already established. He only knows how to fake things and to imitate and mock the Most High God.
That part.
Because the Bible says that those who follow God, that believe in Yeshua Jesus, are the temple of the Holy Spirit. The temple was never supposed to be a physical structure. It's supposed to be the creator of the universe, the Son of the living God that shines in us and through us. Revelation chapter 21, verse 23 says that when the New Jerusalem comes down, it's not even going to need any light. There's not going to be any need for the sun or the moon because the glory of God will be its light.
Now, I tell people when I read the Bible, right, or read the Quran, you just read all these great stories, right? I don't read it for religious reasons. See, because you might find some financial help in there. It's like a life story. It's a book. You might find some relationship advice. You might find some spiritual advice. That's why it's a great book. That's why this book sold more than any other book that was ever made to mankind. Think about it. You can learn finances, the greatest man of Babylon. You can learn all different types of things in this great book. So when I read this book, I don't read it for religious purpose. Oh, I believe this and oh, I believe that. No, when you get a chance, go buy the book and read the book and skim through and see what's what. It's like reading the 40th Laws of Power. Go buy it and go see which area in your life that you want to make a little better. You may have bad relationships. Somebody may put some voodoo on you, some Jew on you that ain't really right. So you might need some spiritual correction and or direction, right? You might need some financial direction, right? You might need some hopium, right? You might need to get your mind off of what's going on in reality, right? And try to manifest your own thing that's going on. You might need some help on finding your purpose. So it tells you to go. It don't say look out and let me open my window and look out and see what my purpose may be today. No, it tells you to look inward. Can we talk about it? I don't want to be considered a preacher because that's not what I'm doing. That's not my title. That's not my thing. I just connect the dots quite well. You know, so you go within when you're lost. That's like me saying, hey, that's why I tell guys we at war every day. Men, masculine men, know that you at war every day. And it's all right. We was made for it. We are made for it. And it's cool. It's cool. That's what we're made for. Frontline. If you're looking for peace outside of yourself, something wrong with you. I hear somebody in the back say, well, let me repeat it. If you looking for peace, right, outside of you, something is wrong with you. Peace is something that you can only find within, just as much as happiness, right? So some people say, well, if you're in a relationship, you don't make me happy. What? How is that even possible? Why would you ever let someone control the space that you ultimately deem that's totally your ownership? You have to make yourself happy. Now, it's outside forces that can trigger you to be more happy in the inside, but know that it's outside forces. What happens when those forces do not exist? And you have to live with yourself and you have to reflect upon yourself. Then what? Where are you going to harness this energy from? Taco Bell? It can't be Taco Bell. Where you gonna hide this energy from? Materialistic things, Gucci, Louis, Prada. Where? Might make you feel good for a second, but you still gotta look at yourself in the mirror. Like Mike said, it starts with the man in the mirror, which is a reflection of oneself. So that's all I'm saying. Don't be an idiot and think that you're looking for this world is going to be a peaceful world. It's not. It's not made to be. Why? Because you have positive forces, then you have negative forces, and it's a yin and it's a yang, and it's always been a battle between the two. It's always forever going to be that. You got God, you got the devil. You got man, you got woman. You got lions, you got crocodiles. It's always an equal opposite force that's always playing upon the world, the earth. You have positive ions, you have negative ions. You got protons, you got neutrons. You get what I'm saying? So you got to learn how to dance with these forces. That's all I'm saying. But let's continue. And I'm not here to talk too much. We're just having a healthy discussion. We're just having a healthy discussion on this short solstice day that they consider to be Xmas. Or you can say Christmas. But the question would be, well, damn, who is Chris? Y'all ever seen Chris and heard Chris? What are we talking about? Roof Chris? Oh, I'm talking about a steak or two?
Lamb will be its lamp. In other words, the Son of the living God will be the only light that shines in the New Jerusalem. And we are the predecessor to that light. And that's what Satan's trying to hide. He wanted the ancient people of the earth to be distracted from the one true God by worshiping the creation. And today his agenda is to get God's people to worship him through man-made holidays instead of God-ordained holy days.
Aha!
So Satan chose this day, the winter solstice, added a solar deity to it, then threaded it all throughout time, and then eventually his plan was to get it into the church. Because if he could get it into the church, then the people of God would move away from the true calendar of God.
Hold on. I keep telling people, hold on. We got to run that back a little bit more because people think I'm ballistic.
People of the earth to be distracted from the one true God by worshiping the creation.
Watch this chart. Hold on.
And today his agenda is to get God's people to worship him through man-made holidays instead of God-ordained holy days.
Pagan.
So Satan chose this day, the winter solstice, added a solar deity to it, then threaded it all throughout time.
Sorcery.
And then eventually his plan was to get it into the church.
Witchcraft. Now, if y'all did y'all see this y'all see this chart right here, right? It's damn near witchcraft and sorcery. You could do the same thing too if you want to. We all have the power within. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. Why do you think how the Haitians won the Haitian Revolution, the Haitian War? We're magical beings. But let's keep that on the don't let everybody know. Anyway, y'all see what I say about these churches, right? Infest the churches. To me, the churches and schools are considered to me to be indoctrination camps. Think about it. Most of the principles that you learn and most of the things that you learn, where did you get it from? I'm waiting. What's that 60 minutes jump? My bad, I had to remix it a little bit. But y'all get what I'm saying. Time's ticking. TikTok. What these schools and these churches are considered indoctrination camp. Why? How do I know this to be true? Because most of your theories and your ideologies and your way of thinking and your, let's just say, programming come from those two centers. The centers that we all have in common is our schools and ¿cómo se dice churches in Espanol? Iglesias? Yes, iglesias. Those things. Which can be a big distraction upon your mission and on your purpose on earth. Why I say school, cross that out, churches, cross that out, purpose. That's the only thing that's truly worth it. I keep on telling y'all that. And I'm going to keep on saying it. It's a reason. Now, when school used to be school and you used to be pure and you could have your religion and this is that the third, it seems to me you can't have nothing. If it ain't taste the color of the rainbow, it's like, my God, my fathers, what's going on in here? Thank God for the internet, because we have creative learning now where I tell people just hook your kids up with some mentors and financing, philanthropy, anything, any subject matters, computers, quantum computer. Now you get to directly pick science, tech, engineering, and math. Hook them up with those type of people, because that's what's going to make sense for the creative future. You no longer need to go to first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. It's like, damn, what are they beating in your head? The same thing. By the time you come out, you 12th grade. Okay, cool. Then you go to college. Then you find out everything you learned from first grade to 12th grade could have been a lie. It's like you watching, they broke my heart with this one. This is a personal story. Pissed me off. I used to watch WWE and WWF, right? My God, my fathers. When I figured out that these people were, there was, if you used to be with the rocks cooking and the people, them champs and the elbows, when I figured out that this man was acting, that's why I don't like watching TV now. They don't know what they did to me when I was young. Still young though, but they don't know what they did to me when I was a child. I said, you lying mother. I never looked at that WWE again. Now leave your thoughts down below. Can y'all relate to that? When y'all figured out that it wasn't real, then you figured out how the hell Santa coming down? If Santa's supposed to be this big, I'm real logical. I'm like, hold on. If Santa's supposed to be this big, how the hell he gonna fit down the chimney? And why when I leave the milk and cookies out, he don't never finish everything? And if he's getting all that milk and cookies, do this man exercise? I began to think. I said, no. Something's not right. Something not right. And why they gotta wait for you to go to sleep at 3, 4 o'clock, then you wake up? But it seemed as if, you know what I did one day? I pulled an all-nighter. Then I heard my parents creeping up and down the steps. I said, aha! I got you. Aha! You guys thought I was asleep now, didn't you? I never looked at anything else the same. Guess they took the joy out of it. Hell, maybe I took the joy out of it by wanting to know so much. But saying it all to say, right? Saying it all to say, it changed your perspective of things. I mean, you begin to ask yourself why. But let's continue. Let me know. Leave your thoughts down below. Can y'all relate to that?
Because if he could get it into the church, then the people of God would move away from the true calendar of God and be paralyzed from receiving the full power and authority in the earth that he desires for his people to have. He would trick us into not doing Bible things in Bible ways, but literally mocking God through a date chosen by Satan to worship him, and all the while we wouldn't have a clue that we're offending the one true God the entire time.
Aha!
My friends, this date is critical. It's important that we understand where it comes from, because in the evidence that we're going to be showing throughout this video to get to the answer of December 25th on trial and why did we choose it, this winter solstice and the temples are a foundational part of that evidence. If it can be established that the pagans were worshiping solar deities on the winter solstice before the Roman Church chose the date for the birthday of Christ, then it's all too possible that the church chose that date because it was a pagan celebration in their effort to displace it, an act that we will see later is biblically illegal. But before we make any conclusions just yet, let's get back to our trial. Earlier, we showed how the Egyptian temple of Amun-Ra was connected to the winter solstice and how they believed that the rays of the sun on that day caused the sun to be reborn. Now, let's go over to a Greek philosopher named Plutarch, who lived in the 1st century, and let him tell us why they built his temple around the winter solstice. He says, and I quote, "For this reason, it is said that the goddess Isis, when she was aware of her being pregnant, put on a protective amulet on the 6th day of Phaeophi, and on the winter solstice, she gave birth to Hippocrates." Now, Hippocrates was the sun god Horus as a child. It literally means the child Horus. Horus was the sun god of Egypt, and Plutarch is reporting that he was born on the winter solstice. So not only does Plutarch tell us that the sun god of Egypt was born on the winter solstice, but he does so long before a single Catholic writer ever decided to figure out what the birthday of Christ was. This piece of evidence is critical because it proves that both Rome and Egypt had sun gods that they believed were born on the winter solstice. And in the first century, it was December 25th. And in the case of Rome, there is evidence that they actually worshiped the sun god on December 25th, which of course was the winter solstice in that time period.
According to this Cash App card I found, I'm Nurse Mallory
My thing with them be, right? My thing with them be, that being the case, who's Christopher? Or who is Christmas? Christopher sailed the ocean blue in 1492. See that they go to programming again. Well, who the hell is Christopher? And why do we celebrate Christmas?
Jones, and I'm about to buy this.
But Egypt and Rome are not the only cultures that bring us a sun god that was said to be born on the winter.
Can y'all tell me who Christopher is? We ain't talking about Christian Dior. We're not talking about that. Maybe they talking about that too. Maybe that's why I like the shoe so much. Maybe. Everything is Chris. Christmas, Christ, Chris, Christopher. I think they in love with this person, Chris. Well, I guess if you connect it, if you understand language and you understand word, right? I guess if you connect it to everything, then it would seem so holy. Hell, Christians. Wordplay. This wordplay getting too vicious nowadays. Wordplay. Everything connected now, ain't it? Might be connected to the wrong thing.
Solstice. Bishop Epiphanius of Solomon, who lived in the 4th century, details for us that the Greeks also had a celestial god that was born on this very same day. He described what happens on December 25th in his time when he says the following. First, at Alexandria in the Corium, as they call it, it's a very large temple, the Shrine of Kor. They stay up all night singing hymns to the idol with the flute accompaniment. And when you ask them what this mystery means,
hold on. Let's read some of the chat real quick. Steve Biff Saunders, right? Or Saunders, right? If I butchered your name, that's on me, my bad. Saint Nicholas, he says Saint Nicholas. Oh, so that's where we get it from. Okay, they go to Greek mythology and everything else in the Romans, which all leads to whatever it leads to. He also stated that I was just informed that Christmas used to be spelled with 2 S's. Christmas. I gotta look that up. But if that's true, well, damn, when did they drop the 1 S? I guess they said they got to make this look good or more believable. They dropped the 1 S. Well, what does mass mean? Mass means a lot, a whole leap, plenty, more than one. They say the mass media, the mass people, you program them, tell them what to think. So maybe they had to connect and say, well, maybe it's Chris or Christ mass. Maybe a mass invasion. A mass invasion on your brain that let you know that pay attention to Christ or Chris. Okay. I'm gonna look that up. Steve. I'm gonna look it up, Steve, because if that's the case, that's why words are so powerful. People don't understand words are spelled. It's so powerful because that's basically saying, look, everyone, we need a mass amount of people to know what Christ is. Golly. But let's continue. Let's continue. I wanted to read a comment. Let's continue. Let's continue. Don't forget to get the AirTech EMF protectors. That's how you support the channel. Hit that bell notification. Hit that like button. For the people that's in here, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that bell notification. And if you want to support the channel as well, hit the AirTech EMF. I pinned it to the top of the chat protector. It protects you against electromagnetic waves. You know, we blind. We only can see 10% of the things in front of us. So we all Ray Charles for real. No disrespect to Ray Charles. But we all are legally blind. So the harmful rays that you can't see, that's making you think one way, or making you happy and or sad, or it's controlling your emotions, these are the things you really can't see. You should protect yourself. This link right here, if you hit the link, you definitely get a wonderful discount. You definitely get a wonderful discount. So that's how you support the channel as well. Let's continue.
They replied that today is the hour of Kor, that is the Virgin, when she gives birth to Eon. Eon is the chief cosmic god of the Greeks, and he's depicted as being in charge of the entire year and the zodiac. And Epiphanius tells us that this false god was also born on December 25th. And although the Roman Church today has done a great job of convincing a lot of people that December 25th was never a pagan holiday, much less the birthday of a pagan sun god, history and their own bishops tell a completely different story. Epiphanius not only tells us that the Greeks celebrated the birthday of their god on December 25th, but within a few lines of that quote, he goes on to say that virtually every other pagan culture of his time period had a celebration on December 25th. He says this, and I quote, "Greeks, I mean the idolaters, celebrate this day, the winter solstice, on the 8th before the calends of January," which is another way of saying 8 days before the 1st of January, or December 25th.
Okay.
The Romans call it Saturnalia, Egyptians Chronia, Alexandrians Sicilia. The winter solstice was not only the birthday, my friends, of the Egyptian and Greek gods, but Epiphanius tells us it was celebrated by the largest cultures of his time. And he lived in the 300s. And speaking of the 300s, let's take a look at the next exhibit, which is none other than the Roman calendar from 354 AD, that literally states that December 25th was the birthday of the Roman sun god. This calendar was created by a calligrapher named Philocalus for a wealthy Christian named Valentinus. In part 6 of this calendar, it actually has December 25th listed as a pagan Roman holiday. Here's the exact entry. It says, quote, "Birthday of the unconquered, games ordered, 30 races." Now, this is the oldest literary reference to the pagan feast of Sol Invictus, the sun god of Rome, that we have. Did you hear what it said? December 25th is marked on the only surviving Roman calendar that we have from that time period, and it says that it's the birthday of a Roman sun god. Now, we know that the Roman Christians were celebrating December 25th as the birthday of Christ at this time, because ironically, on this very same calendar of 354, December 25th is also mentioned as the birthday of Christ. And we know that they didn't celebrate it in the 3rd century on December 25th, because Dr. Stephen Hidgmans tells us that in the De Pascha Computus, which was written in 243 AD to determine the date of Easter, they argued that Christ, the new Son of Righteousness, must have been born on March 28th.
Huh?
This tells us that in the mid-3rd century, the date of Christmas was not yet known, and its date would be chosen sometime after this and before 354 calendar, most likely during the reign of Emperor Constantine.
So something ain't alive, and these kings are making up their own dates. Basically, the emperors, these kings, they making up their own dates as they go. Let's continue. Leave your thoughts down below. I really want to know what you think.
Of the 330s. But do we have any more evidence of sun worship in Rome before 354? We most certainly do. Not only do we have Emperor Aurelian dedicating a temple to the sun god Sol Invictus in 274 AD, archaeology has uncovered the sun god Sol Invictus minted on Roman coins in the 4th century, 3rd century, 2nd century, 1st century, and even as far back as the 1st century BC. Out of every god available in the pantheon, in every century that Rome existed, the emperor chose to have Sol Invictus as the head of every Roman coin. It is also a well-documented fact that the Emperor Constantine, before his alleged conversion to Christianity, was a dedicated sun god worshiper, proving that
Now, y'all know about Constantine. I'm sure y'all seen the movie Constantine. I'm sure y'all seen the movie Constantine. Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen the movie Constantine. See, all these things are connected points. But let's continue. Let's continue.
That sun worship was alive and well in Rome. And what day do you think they celebrated the birthday of the sun and all of these sun gods? On the only day of the year that they believed the sun was reborn, the winter solstice, December 25th. Emperor Julian confirms when the Romans worshiped their sun god. He says this in 361 AD. Quote, before the beginning of the year, at the end of the month, which we call after Kronos, our December, we celebrate in honor of Helios, the Greek sun god, the most splendid games, and we dedicate the festival to the invincible sun. My friends, it cannot get any more clear than this. Even the Roman emperor states that at the end of December, they had a major celebration to the sun god, and we know the day in question was December 25th because it was actually on the calendar in 354 that tells us this. And we've already displayed that. The Catholic Encyclopedia says this about Helios. Helios Mithras is one god, and Sunday was kept holy in honor of Mithra. The 25th of December was observed as his birthday, Natalius Invicti, the rebirth of the winter sun, unconquered by the rigors of the season. You can see that even the Catholic scholars admit that Greek sun god Helios and the Roman sun god Mithras became one god, and his birthday was December 25th, and Sunday was his day.
What?
Which, by the way, is exactly why today most of Christianity has church and celebrates the Sabbath on Sunday. It's not because Jesus rose from the dead on Sunday. It's because the Romans...
And that's another thing that I have to debunk. Now, why do people go to church on Sundays when the Sabbath means Saturday? Y'all ever thought about that? If you went to church and going to church and all these Templars and temples and all of this other stuff, but have y'all ever really thought about that? See, I want y'all to begin to think. I'm just trying to open your mind up. That's all. I want y'all to begin to think and ask yourself, well, why? Because this rabbit hole can get deep. We're uncovering time here. Maybe that's why we're still operating on the Roman calendar, perhaps. But let's continue. Let's continue. Leave your thoughts down below.
Chose to officially change the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday in 321 AD under Emperor Constantine, because that's the day the pagans had their Sabbath, and it was easier to get the pagans to convert to Christianity if they were allowed to keep their pagan traditions. The church's position was to let people still celebrate it, but now we're going to do it for Jesus. That kind of compromise and the changing of the laws and the times is how the church has operated from the very beginning. That's exactly how they chose December 25th. They tried to conquer a pagan day and redeem it, forgetting that God has never been interested in redeeming pagan days of worship. He already has his own special days that he wants his people to worship him on. He has only been interested in redeeming people from pagan worship. Can you imagine the Israelites trying to take a pagan altar and use it to worship the God of Israel when they were specifically forbidden to do so in Deuteronomy?
That's deep. Let's run that back a little bit. That's deep. For the people that's just coming in the back of the class, God doesn't want to redeem. That's deep.
Pagan days of worship. He already has his own special days that he wants his people to worship him on. He has only been interested in redeeming people from pagan worship. Can you imagine the Israelites trying to take a pagan altar?
He wanted to redeem people from these pagan days. Or the Spirit wanted to redeem people from celebrating fake days. Have you noticed if you don't really celebrate these days, you might feel low in energy because you're not with what everybody else with? I'm here to tell y'all it's okay. Because it's always another day. It's okay. Get your spirit right. We're doing spirit work right now. Get your spirit right. That's all. Get your spirit right. The truth will prevail, and that's the side of history I'm on.
And use it to worship the God of Israel when they were specifically forbidden to do so in Deuteronomy chapter 12. By the way, if the subject of the Sabbath interests you and you'd like to find out how it too was changed, I encourage you to click the link at the top of this video or click the link in the description for more information.
Okay.
Now you might be thinking to yourself, isn't the winter solstice on December 21st? If you're talking about today's corrected Gregorian calendar, you'd be correct. But the current calendar has only been in effect since 1582.
It's funny. It's funny. This is how I know I'm supposed to be doing this right now. Because RLL, let's read this comment. RRLMZ, right? RRLMZ. My bad if I butchered your name. It's kind of, I guess I'm just pronouncing the little letters, right? I guess it's not a name, all right? Maybe an acronym and stand for something. The 25th is not the solstice, it is the 21st. Can we talk about it? Well, let's talk about it. Grab your pots and pans. It's time to cook. Don't forget the spatula, because now he explained exactly. It's like, how did you know to comment that right there? I look at the internet as it's like a gateway. The internet is like a universe. It's like it connects us all. It's like a force, right? And you ask that question, and as soon as you ask that question, this man broke it down. Can somebody say he's always on time, right? That's what they say. God always on time now, ain't he? Yes, he is. Let's continue. Now, RRLMZ, watch him break it down to you. Because like I say, that's the Gregorian calendar, the Roman calendar. And you know how they like to play with numbers and numerologies and everything along that nature. So don't get caught up into those type of things. But let's continue because I want to learn too. This was educational for me too. Some of these things I already knew, but I'm just putting it to the forefront. Let's go.
To replace the Julian calendar that was created in 46 BC that was off by 11 minutes each year. So in the
This goes to show why I always say time speeding up. Why last year time don't feel like this year and the time before that. And it seems like winter to me is getting shorter and summer is getting longer. I've been saying this since I was like 11, 12. Probably younger than that. 9. Why does it seem like every winter it gets warmer and shorter and every summer gets longer? And time to me seems to speed up. Speedy Gonzalez. Why? Am I the only one that feel that way? Leave your thoughts down below. I want to just know I'm just not the only person that recognize that and feel that way. But if they playing with numbers and playing with calendars and they doing woo on everybody, then of course they speeding time up. Switching calendars and switching this from the Gregorian to the Julian calendar, and these are based on priests and kings and everything else. Whatever they say go. My God, my fathers. So to answer your question, let's put it back on the screen. The 25th is not the solstice, it is the 21st. Let me run it back for the people that's just coming in. Because, like I say, you was right on time. You was right on time. We're going to run it back from the Gregorian calendar, right, all the way to whoever Juliet is or Julian.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, isn't the winter solstice on December 21st? If you're talking about today's corrected Gregorian calendar, you'd be correct. But the current calendar has only been in effect since 1582 to replace the Julian calendar that was created in 46 BC that was off by 11 minutes each year. So in the original Julian calendar, the winter solstice was on December 25th, and it continued to be celebrated on that day out of tradition, even though the solstice began to shift to different days due to the Julian calendar not being perfectly accurate.
So RRLMZ, I hope that answered your question. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is Healthy Discussion. This is the beginning. This is not the end, right? Hopefully that's answered your question. Great question. You was right on time. If you want to support the channel, go get it. They consider this a holiday, so I guess you can go shopping and go get somebody something that's actually worth it. It's the AirTech EMF protector. It protects your family against these harmful rays, these computers that we're in front of, these cell phones that's always around us, radiating. Even if they off, they still radiating. So go protect yourself. You get a nice discount by using my link. If you go to the site directly, you would not get my link. If you don't get my link, you can save 30-40%, especially if it's your first time buying. And they have 20% extra on that too as well. So it's a perfect time to get your loved one something if you truly love them. Let's go.
We know that December 25th was originally on the winter solstice because Roman historian Pliny the Elder in 63 AD tells us exactly that. He says, quote, the Bruma, which is the winter solstice, begins on the 8th degree of Capricorn, the 8th day before the calends of January, which again is another way of saying 8 days before the 1st of January, which is December 25th. That comes directly from an historian in the 1st century. And speaking of cultures that worship sun gods on the winter solstice, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just the ancient Egyptian and Roman cultures of the early centuries that venerated the sun on this day. We see the same pattern all over the world and throughout all time. The Aztecs, for example, of Mexico, not only did they have many of their temples built with the winter solstice in mind, but according to Aztec theology, their god, Huitzilopochtli, was also said to be born on the winter solstice. And if we head back across the Pacific Ocean to Japan, we find another sun god story that takes place on the very same winter solstice. According to Japanese Shintoism legend, the sun goddess Amaterasu is coaxed out of a cave on the winter solstice by the god of happiness after fleeing from her brother who's in a state of rage. When the sun goddess comes out on the winter solstice, she's said to be, quote, reborn. The sun comes alive again. In Shintoism, their followers still celebrate this ancient ceremony called Toji Tosai by lighting candles and worshiping the sun goddess every year on this day. And I'm certainly not saying that the Aztecs of the 13th century or Japanese Shintoism or any quote that I've mentioned after the 4th century has any influence on the decision in the 4th century to make Christ's birthday on December 25th. What I am displaying, though, is a pattern of sun god worship that happens to be on the winter solstice that's found on every continent for the last 5,000 years. And since we know that the Aztecs had no clue that the Romans ever existed, either they migrated originally from the Middle East thousands of years earlier and brought sun god worship on the winter solstice with them, or they learned it directly from demons, possibly the same demons that they summoned during their human sacrifices. Either way, it seems that one of the most important days of worship for Satan was on December 25th. Even modern day.
Yeah, I hear. Sometimes he wants to play as God as well. And yeah, one thing I noticed about society, right? They got different societies, right? Different little rituals that people do, especially in Hollywood and everything else, right? Do you know that it all goes back to blood sacrifice and things like this? That's how you pay your homage. So it kind of makes sense to me. It kind of makes sense to me. Let's continue. Leave your thoughts down below. Why y'all think Hollywood is falling? Let's go. The stars are falling. Let's go.
The Wiccans celebrate the birthday of their god on the winter solstice, celebrating it at none other than the ancient Stonehenge that we mentioned earlier. They call it, of all things, Yule Day, which is the same ancient name that Germanic and Scandinavian peoples gave it thousands of years earlier. And interestingly enough, the ancient Vikings refer to Yule Day as Odin's Day. Did you catch that? Out of every single day of the year that they could have ever chosen to be Odin's Day, which is most scholars say is the precursor for the development of some of the attributes of Santa Claus, they chose December 25th, the winter solstice, as his day. Although
So you telling me this is where Santa get his bed from? That's what you're telling me? Let's look at this man, Odin, again. This is him. And y'all want y'all kids to sit on this man's lap? My God. Now, why would you want to do that?
Of some of the attributes of Santa Claus, they chose December 25th, the winter solstice, as his day. Although I could continue to list other pagan deities that were worshipped on this day, we will leave this section with one final piece of evidence.
What's that?
And this evidence comes from none other than the Church of Satan themselves. Although the following quote is not an ancient academic piece of evidence, it is definitely eye-opening to say the least. Here's what they say on their own website about December 25th, and I quote, "The Christians stole this holiday from the pagans. The Nazarene or Christian has little place in the general public celebration of this season, which were meant by pagans to be celebrations of abundance during the season of cold and emptiness. So for the Yule holiday season, we enjoy the richness of life and the company of people whom we cherish, as we will often be the only ones who know where the traditions really came from." I don't know about you, but we are not even halfway through this trial, and December 25th is not looking so innocent as we were led to believe.
Isn't it?
When the Church of Satan is claiming that one, their master invented this day for the worship of himself, and two, that each individual is supposed to indulge in self-gratification, which is exactly what happens most of the time during Christmas holidays, and three, it's backed up by countless cultures throughout time being influenced by Satan to worship sun gods on this day, it appears to me that the ancient winter solstice was in fact a major pagan day of worship to Satan himself. And this gave the Catholic Church the motive to try to take it over and make it their own. But that's just what I think. Tell me what you think in the comments below. But the main problem for the Roman Church was not only December 25th, the winter solstice, and the birthday of the Roman sun god,
Right.
but Christians were joining in the celebrations left and right at such an alarming rate that even in the 2nd century, the early church leaders were up in arms about what to do about it. They had no idea what to do because their congregations were taking part in the Feast of Saturnalia on the winter solstice and New Year's Day. Saturnalia was a massively popular Roman festival that ended right before the birthday of the sun god on the winter solstice, and Christians were getting caught up in the celebrations of it. Take a look at the following quotes from that early time period. This is from Tertullian, an early church father from 145 to 220 AD. He says this, and I quote, "But the same apostle," talking about the apostle Paul, "elsewhere bids us to take care to please all. As I," he says, "please all by all means." No doubt he used to please them by celebrating the Feast of Saturnalia and New Year's Day. The Saturnalia and New Year's and Midwinter's festivals and Matronalia are frequented. Presents come and go, New Year's gifts, games join their noise, and banquets.
So New Year's is part of this as well. New Year's is part of this ritual as well. Let's continue. We're going to cover this for about another 10 to 15 minutes. Then we're going to cut this live off, okay? Let's continue.
Banquets join their din. Oh, better fidelity of the nations to their own sect, which claims no solemnity of the Christians for itself, not that the Lord's Day, not Pentecost, even
For the people that just coming in, I got to play this video for y'all to get y'all in the by Tom Macdonald, right? Let me stop sharing the screen. I'm going to play it again for the people that just coming in. Tom Macdonald. Here we go. Let's do it.
Well, the tide is finally turning, and Kamala's speech is slurring. Thank God we're saying bye to Joe. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. And the mainstream media's dying.
Yes, it is.
Their viewers shaving their heads and crying.
They lied about
What is a woman? Well, they still don't know. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. They tried to stop us by taking his life.
Yes, they did.
But they missed, so it's fight, fight, fight. The left really thought they'd beat the right. And they fought, but they lost, thank the Lord. Now January is coming. Half of Hollywood's already running. They're finding new countries to call home. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. as the drones fill up our sky, and Ukraine still wants more dough, and the left tries to take our rights. They want us bending a knee, but we won't. With Diddy locked up, it's been swell, and Epstein didn't kill himself.
Ho, ho, ho.
Hunter smoking crack with ho ho ho. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke.
Go check them out. Go check them out. Download the song on hangovergang.com and go check them out on YouTube. Tom Macdonald. I left it down in the description down below. All you got to do is check out the page. I give credit when credit's due. Just as much as I left the source video of what we actually reacting to, I left that source video as well. I left that down below as well. Got to give credit when credit's due. We all are actually working with each other in order to make this realm a better place. Let's go.
Even if they had known about them, would they have ever shared them with us? For they would have fear that they should seem to be Christians. We are not apprehensive, lest we should seem to look like heathens. My friends, do you hear what he's saying? In other words, he's in sarcasm saying, look, you guys are reading that Paul was all things to all people. But does that mean that he went out and celebrated with the heathens, for crying out loud? He says, you guys have no problem in going out and celebrating pagan feast days and looking like heathens. But you know that they would never come and celebrate a Christian holiday because they'll be afraid that they would look like a Christian. And this is the 2nd and 3rd centuries where Christians were getting caught up in celebrating pagan winter festivals. And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're celebrating things that pagans celebrate, and we have no shame in it at all. It should be a big red flag that Christians were celebrating right alongside the pagans. And it should be a greater red flag that actual physical pagans today and Wiccans celebrated too, saying that this is their holiday and we stole it. And I tend to agree based on the evidence. Even Bishop Martin of Braga in 575 AD had this to say about Christians who are adopting pagan practices into Christmas. Look at this particular quote. He says, quote, "You shall not perform the wicked celebrations of the Calends and observe the holiday of the Gentiles, nor shall you decorate your houses with laurel and green branches. This whole celebration is pagan." While we're trying to figure out in the 21st century whether or not Christmas comes from pagan roots, this 1,500-year-old bishop seems to already know exactly that, that these winter holidays at the end of the year are pagan. So the dilemma was that Christians were celebrating this particular holiday with the pagans and borrowing their traditions. And the newly budding Catholic Church didn't know what to do about it. So since Christians everywhere were celebrating these pagan feasts and the church couldn't get them to stop, the only option was to use the old, if you can't beat them, join them philosophy. And that's exactly what I believe that happened. By choosing the pagan feast day of December 25th as the birthday of Christ, the church could tell Christians to keep on celebrating, but now do so in the name of the real Son of God.
According to this Cash App card I found, I'm Nurse Mallory Jones.
This is
and I'm about
very
to buy.
much so.
During this entire trial, my friends, we've been trying to answer the question, why did the Catholic Church choose December 25th to be the birthday of Christ? The following quote by a 12th century bishop is our last eyewitness testimony. He answers this question quite plainly. Check out what he has to say. It's powerful. Syriac Bishop Jacob Barsalabi says this in the 1100s. Quote, "The reason why the fathers of the church moved the January 6th celebration to December 25th was this," they say. Listen carefully. "It was the custom of the heathens to celebrate on this same December 25th the birthday of the sun, and they lit lights on it to exalt that day. Even Christians were participant in these rites and ceremonies. When, therefore, the teachers of the church saw that the Christians inclined themselves to this custom, they established a plan." And what was that plan? The true natal feast, Christmas, would be celebrated on this day, December 25th, and the Epiphany on January 6th. Brothers and sisters, you can't get any more clear than this.
Okay.
This 12th century Christian bishop who knows his history said, look, this is why we're celebrating this on December 25th. It was a pagan day. The Christians were celebrating it. The church didn't know what to do, so they adopted the date on their own. They continued to allow the Christians to celebrate it because they knew they weren't going to be able to stop them, and just told them to celebrate it for Christ. It appears that in the 1100s, it was very common knowledge in the church that December 25th date was chosen because it was an existing pagan day of worship to a sun god, and the church tried to hijack it. And because the Catholic Church grew exponentially, it did eventually displace sun god worship on December 25th as it began to evangelize and conquer land after land. Instead of teaching the heathens to follow the one true God his way, they simply began to syncretize and borrow from the customs of those pagans until we get to almost every custom that we have today dealing with Christmas. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, who cares if the date they chose was previously the birthday of a sun god? Wouldn't it be a good thing that the church took over a pagan date for Christ? That sounds great from our perspective, but in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you in Scripture where God forbids us from taking a former pagan practice of worship and converting it over to Him. Still stick with me, because I'm going to also show you at the end the shocking truth of what the enemy is really trying to hide through all of this. Something that when our family discovered it, it changed our lives forever. Now, some say that December 25th was chosen because the early church writers mathematically concluded that Christ was actually born on that day. They mainly quote Hippolytus and Africanus as their sources. But as we shall see shortly as we walk into these particular quotes, you're going to see just how much of a lack of evidence there really is. Although it's true that there were a few writers who came up with the December 25th date as a guess, a closer examination will reveal, one, that these guesses did not come from any academic mindset, but from superstition, and two, these early quotes had been suspiciously handpicked from a myriad of dates that Christians calculated. Historian Clement Miles explained this in his classic 1912 work, Christmas Customs and Traditions. He said this: "There's not a single month in the year to which the Nativity has not been assigned by some writer or another. December 25th is only one of various guesses of early Christian writers. Saint Clement himself, who lived at the end of the 2nd century, believed that Christ was born on November 17th. This means by the end of the 2nd century, the date had not even been set yet. We know from all the previous empirical evidence that has been presented thus far that the church chose December 25th to dethrone the pagan sun god and to make it easier for pagans to convert to Christianity. So I don't know about you, but it's awfully convenient that in modern times, it retroactively went back, found a couple of people that actually guessed that date right. They could have guessed about any date of the month and found someone who guessed that date, but that's not what really happened. So let's take a look at a couple of these quotes from the other side of the aisle and see how credible they actually are. One of the most popular early writers or chronographers that came up with the December 25th date is apparently someone named Hippolytus of Rome in the 3rd century. His entire chronography timeline was not only debunked within a decade of releasing it, but there's evidence that it's not even credible. Let's take a look at that quote and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Quote, "For the first advent of our Lord in the flesh, when he was born in Bethlehem, 8 days before the calends of January, the 4th day of the week, while Augustus was in his 42nd year, but from Adam 5,500 years. According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, they say this quote is not even authentic. They say, the relevant passage, which exists in the Chigi manuscript without the bracketed words, says this, and every time it's quoted prior to circa 1000 AD. In other words, the original quote is the following: For the first coming of our Lord and the flesh in Bethlehem took place in the reign of Augustus in the year 5500, and he suffered in his 33rd year. Everything that you see there in brackets is not in the original. This means that we have to throw out Hippolytus. It's not even genuine. At the very least, it's extraordinarily questionable.
Right.
And the Catholic Encyclopedia goes on to say, interpolation is certain and admitted by scholars Funk and Von Wesch. The next quote that we have, and the last one that we're going to deal with today, is Julius Sextus Africanus.
Okay.
All over the internet, he's quoted as stating that December 25th is the birth date of Christ. Yet virtually no one ever actually states his exact quote. After extensive research, I finally found the actual quote in question and was shocked at what he actually said. This is the quote: Judea has seen its bloom and the country is fading. To Gentiles and aliens salvation has come. To the wretched relief is ministered abundantly. With right do women dance and say, Lady Pege, spring bearer, thou mother of the heavenly constellation. Now, friends, this is where they say that Julius Sextus Africanus says that Jesus was born on December 25th. But where is that?
Right.
It's not actually there because he never said it. You have to do some extreme gymnastics with his words, which is exactly what they did, and here's how they did it. First, they start with the understanding that the ancients believed that the earth was born on March 25th, the spring equinox, and that great men are born and die on the same day. So because they believe that Christ died on March 25th, being a great man, he must have been born on that date as well.
That'll make no sense.
And because Africanus uses the word spring bearer, that somehow means that Julius believes that Christ must have been born in the spring. The problem is that they didn't even stick to the superstition formula that great men are born and died on the same day.
It seems to me that they're making up things as they go. They don't know. They do not know. All these greats, they didn't know nothing. Obviously, maybe how to go to war and how to kill and how to spread their theory or their ideology. That's about it. But what if their ideology was dead wrong? Leave your thoughts down below.
They changed it to Christ died and was conceived on the same day. And of course, if you go 9 months from March 25th, you end up on December 25th. The truth is that not only is all of that based on superstition and manipulation of a formula,
Right.
It's not even what he said, and it's not what he meant. The context, if you keep reading, is talking about water. He's referring to a spring of water, not the season of spring. And the actual Greek bears that out because Lady Pege is simply a personification of the Greek word pege, which simply means the well that is fed by a spring. He's basically saying that Mary, the mother of Christ, has a wealth of water inside of her that's fed by Christ himself. He's the water. He's the spring. So it now becomes clear why no one actually quotes Africanus in his belief that Christ was born on December 25th, because there's actually no quote to support that invented claim. Okay, we've nearly come to the end of our trial. So let's begin the process of recapping what we've discovered. In the end, the only argument that's used to prove that December 25th was not chosen because it was a pagan holiday is these church writers, who we've just shown are not legitimate and cannot be used as credible evidence. And even if they could be trusted, they could in no way overturn all the...
I was going to break this down into 2 sections, but he almost finished. So let's just run it through.
Previous evidence that is to the contrary. Irrefutable evidence that December 25th was celebrated as the birthday of sun gods before the Roman Church chose it as the birthday of Christ.
Right.
The strange part about all of this is that those who support this argument are saying that the church didn't choose December 25th because of any kind of syncretism or merging of pagan ideas, yet we're supposed to believe that they chose December 25th because a few early church writers came up with that date using pagan traditions and ancient Jewish superstitions? That doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
Every early church writer on this subject uses legitimate formulas for trying to figure out the death and birth of Christ, except for the ones that came up with the December 25th date. They used a formula based on superstition. Furthermore, to believe that the Catholic Church was somehow a purist in this decision and would in no way mix paganism with the holy, you'd have to ignore all the facts of history and even modern history at that. After all, they've had no problem putting the same solar disk behind the heads of all their saints that the pagans used behind their solar deities. They've had no issue putting actual pagan statues in the Vatican itself, even renaming some of them to the names of biblical characters such as Peter, Mary, and even the baby Jesus. Even Pope Francis had no problem in controversially displaying modern pagan idols in the church. In 2019, he said that they were displayed, but, quote, without idolatrous intentions. Now, would any of you have a pagan idol in your own home just for display?
Right.
And if that's not enough, they got John the Baptist's birthday on the summer solstice, chose All Saints' Day to be on the pagan Day of the Dead, which became the famous Halloween of today, which, by the way, if you haven't seen the teaching, Should Christians Celebrate Halloween? I encourage you to click the link above or the one in the description to watch it. You will utterly be shocked beyond belief
We're going to
at
do a
what you've
review,
not been told.
a reaction.
So for us to believe that the Catholic Church did not choose December 25th because it was pagan, but chose it because there were early writers that used pagan superstitions to come up with that date, is not only confusing, it's disingenuous at best, and it goes against all of the existing evidence. But speaking of evidence, let's review some of that evidence and bring this trial to a close so we can reach a final verdict.
Right.
We learned that number one, The winter solstice was in fact on December 25th, and it was celebrated as a pagan holiday to sun gods, as stated by multiple early church writers, historians, and Egyptian sources.
Right.
Number two, we learned that December 25th was not only the pagan sun god's birthday in Egypt, but the Roman calendar in 354 AD reinforces this by telling us that it was the Roman sun god's birthday as well. Number three, the record shows that the Roman Church had a problem when they discovered Christians were celebrating the Feast of Saturnalia and these winter feast days, and they had to do something about it. Number four, we found a 12th century manuscript from a Syriac writer who tells us that the teachers of the church changed the birthday of Christ to December 25th because Christians were celebrating with the pagans on that day. Number five, we learned that Hippolytus and Africanus can't be trusted in their quotes, one being a later interpolation and the other having nothing to do with the birthday of Christ at all, but more of the spring of water that was in Mary. From the Egyptian sun god Horus being born on the winter solstice, to cultures all over the world celebrating their sun god's birthday on this day, from multiple quotes from early church writers telling us that December 25th was a pagan holiday, to the same writers rebuking their congregations for even thinking of celebrating these days in the church, I think it's safe to say without a shadow of a doubt the evidence points to a single conclusion. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
December 25th was an existing pagan holiday dedicated to the birthday of the sun for thousands of years. Christians were joining the pagans in their celebration, and the Roman Church chose to adopt the holiday, changed the name, then they called it their own. And then in modern times, in an attempt to whitewash the original motives of the church, some chose to pick out a couple of quotes from early church writers who chose December 25th, or should I say guessed December 25th, out of complete superstition, just because it just so happened to match the date that they had already chosen. This is biblically illegal. I've mentioned this several times before, but now we're actually going to go through the scripture and show you why it's biblically illegal. Deuteronomy chapter 12 makes it really clear that we cannot borrow from the pagans and then worship our God likewise. Like I mentioned earlier, read it with me. Verse 30 says this: "Take heed to yourself that you are not ensnared to follow after them, after they're destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? I will do so likewise. You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way. For every abomination to the Lord which he hates, they've done to their gods. For they burn even their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods. Whatever I command you, be careful to observe it. You shall not add or take away from it." This is what happened with ancient Israel. When they went into the promised land, God warned them and said, don't go into the promised land and look into how they worship their gods and then borrow from them and worship me in those ways. Don't do it.
Imposter.
He said, don't add to or take away from my word. Worship me in how I request. Somehow we've gotten to the place where we've said, that's not what it means to me. I worship God. I'm celebrating the birthday of Christ. What's wrong with that? My friends, if you are the one being worshiped, like we've said multiple times, that's not a problem. But unfortunately, like I've said several times now, it doesn't matter what it means to us. It only matters what it means to him. He's the one being worshiped. Either we care how he wants us to worship him, or we care about how we want to worship him. So as the verdict becomes guilty, we find ourselves asking the question, why would the enemy do this to begin with? Why is it such an incredible parade of all these different players that come on all these different stages to pull God's people attention away from the stage that's over there?
Trickery.
And what is that stage? That stage is the real holiday calendar of God. It's the real prophetic feast day calendar that he's trying to hide. Because the enemy knows that if he can keep us away from what God really wants us to do, we'll be out of sync with his calendar and miss the incredible blessings that go along with it. For instance, Yeshua, Jesus, had died on Passover at the precise time they killed the Passover lamb, was put in the grave during the Feast of Unleavened Bread when they were removing all leaven, which represents sin, from their homes. He rose on the Feast of First Fruits when the high priest was cutting the barley from the earth and waving it before God, asking for a great harvest in the fall. And the Holy Spirit came down on Shavuot, or better known in the Greek as Pentecost. That's the first 4 spring days of the Lord that deal with his first coming. Every one of these feast days are about Christ. But did you know that the second coming of Christ is foretold through the last 3 fall feast days, where he comes during Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets, or more commonly known as Rosh Hashanah, which was the day when all the ancient kings of Israel were coronated as king, through the sound of a trumpet. Then there's Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, where high priest went into the Holy of Holies one time per year to atone for the sins of Israel, which is connected to the final great white throne judgment of God. And lastly, we have the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, which is when the marriage supper of the Lamb of Revelation happens. And it's also the time when Jesus was actually born and began tabernacling among us. Which, by the way, if you text the word calendar to 844-763-9543 right now, we will immediately send you a downloadable PDF of all the feast days of the Bible and how they relate to us today. And if you'd like to learn more about when Jesus actually was born, feel free to click the link.
To me, this was a great take. This was a great take. I had to do a reaction video to it. Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you really thought about this one. I had to bring some light into what are we actually celebrating and why we're actually celebrating, to open one's mind up. Give credit when credit's due. The source of this video is right down in the description, as much as the song that by Tom. Let's play this one again to end the live. We're gonna play this one again to end the live. Hey Tom, you're coming on up. You up next again. You on stage. You up next again. Let's do it one more time.
Well, the tide is finally turning, and Kamala's speech is slurring. Thank God we're saying bye to Joe. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. And the mainstream media's dying. Their viewers shaving their heads and crying. What is a woman? Well, they still don't know. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. They tried to stop us by taking his life, but they missed, so it's fight, fight, fight. The left really thought they'd beat the right, and they fought, but they lost, thank the Lord. Now January is coming.
21st.
Half of Hollywood's already running.
Yes, they is.
They're finding new countries to call home. Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke. As the drones fill up our skies, and Ukraine still wants more dough, and the left tries to take our rights. They want us bending a knee, but we won't.
No.
With Diddy locked up, it's been swell.
No, Daddy.
And Epstein didn't kill himself. Hunter smoking crack with ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho.
Screw the woke, screw the woke, screw the woke.
That was wonderful. On that note, peace, blessings, and love. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Make sure that you hit the link down below. I pinned it to the top of the chat. Ear Tech, if you love your loved ones, get them something just to protect them, because we got to protect our minds. We got to protect ourselves. We just got to protect each other. On that note, peace, blessings, and love. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification. And remember, positivity. No, first of all, this is the beginning. This is not the end. Remember, I say that on the Healthy Discussion Show. And also remember, positivity over negativity.